The most thrilling, spine-tingling series ever.
From the pages of R.L. Stine's best-selling books,
And the screams go on forever and ever.
We now return to Goosebumps.
Greetings, Goosebumps fans, young and old, big and small. Welcome back to the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Isaiah Vargas, also known as the Goosebumps channel on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'm joined, as always, by the rest of the Goosebumps crew. Goosebumps Aussie fan, Bjorn Panelik, Shawn Nick Shaw, and the ultimate Goosebumps man, Michael Oakless, and we're back to talk some more Goosebumps. And, you know, for the past few episodes that we've done, you know, we talk a lot about the TV show, we talk a lot about the movies, video games, that sort of thing. But one thing that we need to desperately talk a little more about is Goosebumps merchandise. It was everywhere in the 90s. There was Goosebumps everything. There was Goosebumps clothes, there was Goosebumps candy, there was Goosebumps board games. There was, I don't know, wasn't there Goosebumps soap? I'm pretty sure there was Goosebumps.
There was shampoo soap.
Shampoo soap. So there was Goosebumps shampoo soap. So there was everything for Goosebumps, and of course there's a lot of Goosebumps toys and products made at that time. And joining us today to talk a little bit about some of those toys is
Steve Casino. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and welcome to the Goosebumps crew. And we're here with Steve to talk a little bit about some of the Goosebumps toys and products he helped create for Happiness Express in the 90s. And there's quite a few of them, so we're going to get into that. But first, as always, if you are not following the Goosebumps Crew Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, then you are not a real Goosebumps fan. Because if you were a real Goosebumps fan, this is where I get my accusatory finger out. If you were a real Goosebumps fan, you'd be following our podcast. Not only do we have new episodes every Tuesday on our audio platforms and every Wednesday on YouTube, but we also talk about everything Goosebumps, books, movies, TV shows, merchandise, the whole shebang, and we've had some incredible guests on the podcast, including actors from the 90s TV show, writers, directors, artists, other Goosebumps fans, just like us, and it's been an amazing experience for us, and it's going to be an amazing experience for you to listen to all of it. So make sure you follow the Goosebumps Crew Podcast on our audio platforms and our YouTube, wherever you can find podcasts. All right. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of today. So, of course, as we said, Steve Casino is joining us, and he is a toy designer who helped create some of the Goosebumps toys and products from the 90s. But before we talk about the Goosebumps toys, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Steve?
I'm still in the toy industry. I'm a toy inventor. Kind of Goosebumps sort of launched me into toy inventing because I had to invent a lot of things for the line. And it was such a great business to be in that I've never left. And currently, you know, I work on things from Barbie to Hot Wheels, just whatever. You know, we work for big toy companies, and probably a lot of toys that you played with I had a hand in.
Yeah, so. Probably. And before the show, we were talking about even when the Goosebumps stuff was going on, you were working on toys for other like series, like you mentioned, Unreleased Monsters for Nickelodeon.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, those toys were everywhere in the 90s, like just the Nickelodeon and the Goosebumps, and so, you know, kids, you're right, kids probably did play with them quite a bit back then, so it's crazy how, you know, those things kind of spread to audiences out there. And Goosebumps is no exception. I mean, like, I you know, we were joking at the beginning, but it really is true. Goosebumps was everywhere, especially in the late 90s. I mean, that's when the books were just soaring in popularity. The TV show was out, and just everybody wanted to like read Goosebumps, and there was Goosebumps products all over the place. And of course, Bjorn, as always, he owns everything Goosebumps related. Has some of the toys designed by Happiness Express on display there. Steve, can you tell us a little bit about some of the products?
Slappy Love. That's what it is. I mean, my Slappy's my favorite, so I was like, well, we're going to bring out the caddy, we're going to bring out the tape dispenser, but you just lift this up. We also have the Stay Out of the Basement hand, which is a personal favorite also. But as a kid, like I was just saying to the guys earlier, how I went to a market and I picked up like boxes and boxes of old stock that had like 3 of these tape dispensers, desk caddies, the Stay Out of the Basement one, but also like the protractors and the compasses. I think Nick has the Haunted Mask one, probably on hand. Yes. And this guy had all this stuff. It was like dead old stock, right? Because this was 2005 or 6. I can't remember exactly when, but it was around that time, and I was only like 9, 10. And Goosebumps, as we know at that point, was well and truly dead. So he was selling them at like $3 for this, $4 for that, $2.50 for that. And now you go on eBay, you're paying $150, $200 for something like this. It's just like I came in just at the right time, I think.
Definitely.
So and I love it. I love the design of it all. Yeah, you did such a great job. It's just so nostalgic.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. No, it was really cool because there wasn't any products really designed when they came to us. Scholastic, R.L. Stein's wife, I can't remember the Parachute or some Parachute Press. I can't remember. They had their own company, and they came to us and they presented Goosebumps to it. It was only the books at that point, and they just told us. We had a meeting with them, and they said, kids love the covers. So basically, there's no style guide. Nothing at all except the book covers. So we had to base all this on the book covers, and at first, and so they just said, and we were lazy. We didn't really feel like reading the books, but I read The Haunted Mask. I remember, and I kind of got the gist of it. But we started making this stuff, and we didn't. So since we didn't know a lot of the story, we would just we'd take characters like Slappy and Curly, and we did like a set where Curly was sawing Slappy in half, and
where is that?
we did sketches of it, and the thing was, it got past the approval on the sketch stage. so there's this really awesome sculptor named Sal Dinero, and he used to work for Henson. He was a Muppet designer, and he was the one who sculpted these, or he took my drawings, and there's a couple other artists, but he made these like clay prototypes. And then when we presented the one of Curly sawing Slappy in half, I remember getting the notes back, and they're just like, they're screaming off the page, like, Curly would never do that, Once they saw it.
Yes.
My question for that is, what was the product? Was it a toy? Was it a stationary item?
Well, that's the thing. They're a toy company, but everybody wanted part of the license because the books were so hot at that point. So everybody wanted, and the only sliver Happiness Express could get was these back to school category. So they're making toys in back to school because they're a toy company.
Well, there's a funny story about that I should probably mention now because you're saying school. I've told these guys in the past, but so my sister, she was born in 1990, so she was well and truly a kid when this stuff was coming out, 96, 97. So she actually was told at school assembly, that all Goosebumps stationary products will be banned because kids were getting distracted. Because they were playing with everything. Like, one kid apparently would just sit there and open and close Slappy's mouth on the caddy, and kids would, because they look like toys, So apparently the only thing they were actually allowed to have at school were like the notebooks and folders and pencils and pencil cases. But a lot of the toys at her school particularly were banned because they just resembled toys. But I love it. Like, apparently the not the tape dispenser, the battery operated sharpener of like Curly and the Barking Ghost. Kids used to just get the pencils and just drill it in and be like, "Yes, eat it!"
Eat it.
So, I think it's just so funny. But not all schools did it. She said, particularly their school, they did. But that's another thing that just made it so iconic is how they looked. You know what I mean? And they just became so collectible. Kids just collected them. You know what I mean? They loved it.
Yeah, it was good. It's like, it's not often that you get the opportunity to just go hog wild on something and do these like weird, you know, I'd never seen a desk caddy that bit the desk and like the slappy one. So, and I couldn't believe they approved this stuff, and it was just crazy. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they're just money hungry or they just didn't care. But you know,
both.
I had to go as far as having him sawed in half for them to even reject anything.
Man, I wish that came out.
Like that.
I wish that came out.
I'll say that would be really cool to come out. I think that could have been like a, what do they call that? Like a paper cutter.
Oh yeah, it was very elaborate too. It had all kinds of different like accessories and like a severed head that was like an eraser, just like everything. There's probably about 10 pieces to the whole set.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't approve that because I'd want one.
You know, can we get it off the ground somehow?
Right?
Yeah. So there's very little back and forth on it all. We just kind of with the idea, and they liked 95% of everything. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just incredible. Like again, like some of those designs, because they do look like the books, and I personally really like. I love the desk caddy design just because. And I've said this before in a previous episode, but I always loved how Tim Jacobus always drew Slappy with his mouth just like slack jaw open.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, it's kind of creepier when it is because it just looks like more inhuman when your mouth is just hanging open like all the time. But yeah, I just the fact that you can have a Slappy that bites in your desk and then you can like open his head and put pencils inside of it.
Oh yeah. No, and the other one was that the coffin that had the mummy in it that opened up and he sat up with your pencils. That was a lot of fun to make. But it's the lamest pencil case ever because it only holds 2 pencils. Can't really put anything else in there.
But it holds
and then
it for you,
if they're sharp,
totally worth it though.
Yeah, if they're sharpened, they come out like weapons.
Yeah, they just fly out and then
kids were stabbing each other with them.
They make like the sound when you like shoot a dart. It's like. Phew!
Yeah. I remember getting them back from the factory, and I'd walk around the office and just like mess with people, having it pop out and scare them.
The mummy's got my pencil.
And one of the coolest things was I got to go to the premiere of the first episode, The Haunted Mask, at it was called the Limelight in New York. It was this like Gothic church that was converted to a club, and so they had the opening night premiere there, and R.L. Stine was there, and we met him, and it was just a really cool time. I took my friend who was an aspiring toy or children's book writer, and he was like shaking hands with Bob Stein and shit in his pants. It was really fun. It was a giant screen.
No, that's the way to watch Goosebumps, especially that. I want to see R.L. Stine on the big screen.
Yeah. That's so great.
But I mean, it makes sense.
What was one of the things that like you designed that you just still remember being like the favorite one to design? Would you say it's the desk caddy, or is there one that's a bit more obscure that you had a fun time designing?
I like that protractor you have there.
The Haunted
because
Mask
it's
one.
like how
I like it too.
Yeah. I mean, they're really lousy as a protractor, but it was really fun. You know, I think the salesman had a lot of fun trying to sell those into like Walmart and stuff, because they're like, this isn't really functional as a protractor. And like, well, I flunk geometry.
Yeah, it's like it makes geometry. That's boring.
That's all that mattered. I think that's why kids just collected the stuff, because they look like toys. Like for me, I used to just display them on the shelves, you know. Well, I still display them on the shelves, but you know, when I was a kid, and I just like looking at them. It wasn't even. I never used any of the stuff, so I guess that answers that question. It looks nice, you know.
So pretty much the desk caddy works as well as a coffee can would.
Yeah, that's true.
As a coffee cup.
Yeah.
Just open his head. Delicious.
I'm
use
giving
it
you
as,
that desk caddy now.
like a
Yeah, well,
a
there's
soup bowl.
some products that we've seen pop up over the years that I'm assuming were never actually released. Like, there's one of the barking ghost, and like the dog, and it's like biting onto an arm, and it looks like, I think it was an unreleased item. I don't know what that was meant to be, like a pencil holder or something.
Yeah, it's a pencil case.
Yeah, and you could you take off the arm, the hand, right?
Right. So I asked, I could swear that this one guy, I didn't do that one, but this one guy, Larry, who designed a couple of the things, and I asked him, and he doesn't remember it, but I just think his memory's failing him because it looks exactly like how he draws hands.
Yeah, and I mean,
I could see his sketch in my head.
Yeah,
and I like the other barking ghost one where I think you mentioned it, Bjorn. It's where you put the pencils in the dog's mouth, so it looks like the dog's like
the
eating
sharpener.
the pencils. Yeah. Oh, is that a sharpener?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a pencil holder.
I think it's a pencil sharpener, right?
It's a pencil, a battery operated sharpener. This is in the box, and I think because I'm guessing because you had the pencil case one, and then you had that one. So I'm assuming maybe that was that trying to decide which one to go with, because obviously
So here's the
that's the one, the pencil case.
hand.
That's so cool though.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
But it looks identical to the sharpener, the battery operated sharpener, the actual sculpt of the head and everything.
Well, and here's another one that just came up. This one is of Cuddles.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I think this guy Brian McGee designed that one.
Yeah, it's a pretty.
Oh no! Actually, this artist's his name's Lawrence Christmas. You can look him up. He's a really good artist. He does a lot of style guide work now. But he did that one.
Ah. Well,
It's funny, there's people that sometimes post these and say...
Did my ears deceive me? Did you say Lloyd Christmas, or did you say...
Lawrence. His name, Lawrence. Christmas is his last name.
Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Sometimes I see people post photos of that barking ghost dog pencil case and the Cuddles pencil holder, and they go, "Oh, these are some really rare Goosebump items." And I usually comment and say, "I don't think they were released because we would have seen one by now online or something." And
you're right, they are.
Yeah, that one.
So yeah, you would put it in the holes, and then the mummy would go down. It would open it up, and then the mummy pops out with the pencils.
Right. But you could just use one for your pen and one for your pencil. So you could have your pen or your pencil.
Yeah. You could probably fit a little eraser. One of those pink. You could probably fit one of those pink erasers in there too.
Yeah. I also did that little mummy coffin that goes on the tip of the pencil with the little rubber eraser mummy inside. I don't know if you saw that one.
Oh, yep.
I gotta take a look.
Yeah.
Man.
But
did they ever do prototypes of because there's also one of the mud monster. I don't know if Isaiah's got probably popped.
Is it a glue dispenser? Is it a glue dispenser?
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, I think that's the
mud monster.
Yeah. Lawrence designed that one too.
Yeah,
he was really into that mud monster.
But it's so.
Did they ever make a prototype of them? Because those photos look like actual, prototypes.
No, they made prototypes.
Well,
I remember they showed them at the either Toy Fair or the gift fair.
That's cool.
In New York.
I remember seeing that online.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I wish I had all those sketches, and I don't know where they are, but I had not just my sketches, but I had copies of everyone.
Well,
and I don't even know how mine survived.
I know there was one that was, I believe you posted on Facebook of the desk caddy, and it was the original sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, how long did it take to really go from a design to a finished product?
It was so that guy Sal, he just would we'd send him the drawings, and he would just come back 2 to 3 weeks later with all these prototypes. Mostly out of clay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for my sketches.
Wow. So that mud monster was a glue. Like, I didn't know that. Just from looking at it, I always wondered, what was that mud monster one? Because like the others were pretty obvious, like you have the pencils and stuff. But
there's.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the best one anyway. It's the best one. We went with Slappy, so I'm happy. It's all good. Slappy's happy.
Slappy happy.
Yeah.
But
I can't remember if I have the.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, and especially since they were based on the book covers, it was just cool to just have them because it looked like you were holding like a 3D version of that. In your hand. Like even the Slappy tape dispenser is like it's basically just Slappy holding the tape.
What character is that?
I can't tell.
I don't know.
Wait,
I was about to say
Goosebumps. This is still Goosebumps, right?
Yeah, it's a Goosebumps character, but it was.
I was gonna say,
I'm not sure.
Looks like a lawn gnome.
I don't know. To hold it.
It almost
maybe a lawn gnome.
Something. It could
Maybe Crombie the troll.
There's another glue dispenser.
Ooh.
It was a tombstone.
Oh, that's cool.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome.
I thought that was the cuckoo clock for a second there.
Squeeze me for some ghastly glue.
But they did the little glue sticks, the little Goosebumps glue
Here's
sticks.
a vampire, and then he had.
Oh, cool.
You open it up, and he has.
Count Nightwing.
Oh.
Wow.
That's really
There was even
cool.
a product for Count Nightwing. Holy moly! Like, these are awesome. It's so great. Like, because obviously being a big Goosebump collector, seeing this stuff is just like to think what
really
could
cool.
have been or what went to prototype stage but never got released. Like, I would have loved to have got that Mud Monster. Now that you mentioned what it is, I think out of all the ones like the Barking Ghost and the Cuddles and the Mud Monster, I would pick that one over the three because we got so many Cuddles products. Mud Monster, we got a few things, but not as much love, I guess, as Slappy. That's cool.
Yeah. Out of curiosity,
Slappy and Curly were my favorites.
They're
out of curiosity, of your sketches that didn't get made, which one do you wish did get made, or which one, if you had the opportunity to actually get it made, would you go back and do?
Well, I could actually make it now. I didn't have the capability back then. Let me see what I have.
Make like unofficial Goosebumps merch. People do it all the time.
I wanted to do this line of notebooks where it had like worms and stuff, but they're 3D, like hanging out of the notebook on the cover.
That's
really
so
cool. All the stuff, like I want to do like 3D notebook covers where like the haunted mask was rubbery, and
I really like that idea.
Awesome.
I still do that.
Yeah,
I'd buy one.
That's just the cool thing about all those products is they weren't just like plastering a photo on like a book or something like that. It was like how do we like make this like the product it's supposed to be but still like add a twist where it's really like it's something that a kid would want. Like if you just brought a regular tape dispenser to a kid, they'd be like, I want that. But if you brought them that Slappy one right there, to be like, I want that, or that Stay Out of the Basement one, which I really like. Yeah. I actually really, of the two, I actually prefer the Stay Out of the Basement one, just because I like just the green hand and the Goosebumps, the G splat. For the tape.
Yeah, it's cool because of the G splat on it. Slappy's just got like a little one on. He's got a little one, but it's on his foot, like the bottom of his foot, like a green G splat.
Yeah, like he stepped in poop.
He stepped in monster blood.
There's another product that we did. I don't know if it came out. You might have seen it. They were like lock covers.
Yes. Yeah, I've got those.
They did come out. Okay, yeah.
Shock Lock. I think it's called Shock.
I think there's
Lock.
a couple. There's a Mud Monster, and Cuddles.
Yeah,
two I remember.
Yeah, Monster and Cuddles. I should have brought them out. I got too many things. I was like, I had to.
Here's
pick.
the Mud Monster.
Okay. Yeah, I did.
Wow.
Yeah, Lawrence worked on those.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
I think that's the only one I can pull up right now. But yeah, so those would go around the around the lock, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, we were just making up things to try to sell more products. So it's like nobody needs those.
No, they don't.
I think how collectible they are.
We also did something called bow biters, and it was just a blatant knockoff. I think of Galoob had these things called bow biters, and you just put them over your shoelaces, so it was like Slappy on your shoelaces. But I don't think those weren't made. I think they got in trouble.
I remember seeing those.
Yeah, they got in trouble because Galoob got wind of it, and those were never done.
Yep, Galoob, also known as the company with the weirdest sounding name.
Yeah, I know.
We're not a sound effect. We are a company.
Even just like the scissors, the Goosebump Twisted Scissors look so cool. There was a Mud Monster one, and I think Stay Out of the Basement for the Twisted Scissors.
Yeah, I did those.
Yeah, I love that you did Stay Out of the Basement stuff, because there isn't really a whole lot of merch other than what was brought out in the actual stationery line. Yeah, that's kind of what it really was, Stay Out of the Basement stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Because in a way, it also
Stay Out of the Basement didn't get a lot of love for.
Yeah. I mean, we just did
the 90s.
Like if it was done today, they would have. They totally know exactly what characters to make things of. They wouldn't let you do Stay Out of the Basement anything. It would be Slappy, Curly, whoever, and Cuddles, maybe Haunted Mask, and that would be it. They wouldn't stray from those core ones, but they didn't really know what they were doing, which is great for us.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm glad they gave you guys so much creative freedom with it, because you're right. It brought stuff that we probably wouldn't get today. Even looking at products that are coming out now, from Trick or Treat Studios or Cavity Colors or anybody else, there's nothing from Stay Out of the Basement. You do have a Mud Monster item, and a Curly one, which is great. But you're right. You see more the Haunted Mask, Slappy, the common ones that everybody really remembers from the 90s more than anything.
Right, Horrorland too. But we did those couple Horrorland
too.
Oh yeah, the dude with the horns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a few items of him, you had the sharpener, the horror, and the stamp, and a lot of those sort of things.
There's even pencil topper.
Yeah, pen topper, pencil topper.
Did Toy Max did some too, didn't they?
I think so.
They did squirt. They did squirters.
Yes. So there was they called them inksters, and they squirt invisible ink. So it's one of those things where it's oh, you got it on my shirt, and then it's gone. I think about the Roger Rabbit where he squirts Eddie Valiant, Marvin Acme, and then he grabs him and he's like, "Why'd you spray that with me?" And he's like, "Look, it's gone."
Yeah. I worked freelance designing more Goosebumps product for Toy Max, but I don't think anything ever got made. I don't know. They're just trying. There's a feeding frenzy to try to, because everyone was making money from it, and that's how it usually is. And there's a bunch of sleazeballs in the toy industry. It's a very these little fly-by-night companies will just start making stuff or just try to get one tiny piece of the pie, Goosebumps dice, just stupid things.
Yeah. Again, it's it would be the weirdest things, but if it was a thing that existed, it had there was a Goosebumps product of it, most likely.
Yeah.
It's
that's true. Socks, underwear, toothbrushes,
SpongeBob, or stuff like that. It's a recognizable IP, you gotta have one of everything.
Yeah, they even had a couple Pog books back then too with the collector's caps.
Remember Goosebumps? It's back in Pog form.
No, they pretty much anything that the Simpsons slapped on something, Goosebumps tried to do it.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, that's just a testament to how big Goosebumps was back in the 90s. It was so many things. It was do you really need this, or do you really want something like this? But it's no, but I can want it.
Yes, we want it. We want all of it. Okay, and we don't want one of it. We want like 10 of the same thing, like me.
No, it's like it's always there's the inevitable point in every toy designer's career when whatever you worked on is going to be on closeout in that bad aisle where everything, or in a flea market with some guy selling them for $4 a piece. You know, and it's like you remember back when you were so excited to start working on it, and then flash forward a year and it's like nobody wants it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now
that's
and it's expensive.
Well,
right. I know. No, it's so cool because in my mind it was as dead. Like I didn't even realize anybody was into this stuff. I just randomly posted some of those scans of my artwork online like a couple of years ago, and people are contacting me trying to buy artwork from me and stuff. And I thought that was pretty funny because I didn't even think anyone was into Goosebumps at all.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
well,
I have an entire
more
room.
like it's more got the cult following now. But now that it's hit that 30-year mark for the books and next year for the show, now it's got the nostalgia factor on top of that.
Yeah, it's
So
I mean, even outside of
everybody loves nostalgia.
It's like even outside of super fans like us. I mean, there's people that are like rediscovering this stuff every day.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then they get nostalgic, and then they all of a sudden interest spikes up. It's the ironic thing. It's that what you were saying. It's like what may like be in a flea market like at the time, all of a sudden like 10 or 20 years later, all of a sudden it's like being sold for like hundreds of dollars. It's like, where was this like back then? Like,
certainly no struggle.
It's kind of crazy though, like how nostalgia works. Like things like you used to watch as a kid, like we become even more passionate about as adults, which you feel like it would be the opposite way around. You feel like as you get older, you'd be less passionate about the stuff that you watched as a kid.
I was just obsessed with toys as a kid.
How many growing adult Power Rangers fans and things like that there are. Like there's so many it's just cool to see that
Oh yeah. No, it's weird because I do a lot of commissioned art and I can tell what people are into, but what they hire me to make, And Goosebumps, somebody hired me to make a Goosebumps, the Tiger game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that handheld thing. They hired me to make, I think Slappy coming out of it, like he's bursting out of the game. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
So basically, what I do is I take those toys and ruin them. So I'd have it cracking open and have Slappy emerging from it, or Curly, or whoever.
Well, actually, I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that on your Instagram page. Not the Slappy one, but that would be really cool to see. But you do it with Nintendo cartridges and other products. Like I think I just recently saw one of a Barbasol can and a Dilophosaurus coming out of it.
Oh yeah.
Well, here I was
cool.
actually just about to bring this up because I was going to ask about that. But one of the ones I just came across was this Kinder Egg with a little goblin coming out of it.
Oh.
Like, that's cool.
What do you think of Mad Balls? If anybody ever remembers that show?
Mad Balls.
Oh yeah.
It really.
Yeah, I collect those.
Oh, look at.
Oh, that's awesome. I used to love that show.
Look at all these. I like the Nosferatu coming out of the peanut. Like, that sort of
That's
stuff
insane.
is cool. I wish we got some Goosebumps products that were like that were sort of like the 3D sort of jumping out of something. That would have been really cool.
Something on your wall or something would have been really cool.
Yeah.
You can make sort of like a
definitely.
decal, like a 3D decal, where it's like you can stick it on Have you guys ever seen those remote control lights that look like they sort of look like baseballs or tennis balls, and they come with a decal that looks like a big crack, so the light looks like it's a baseball that's midway through your wall, cracking the wall.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Something like that. You know what I mean? That. Yeah,
I saw somebody did a T-Rex head coming through the wall like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I want that.
A cool idea would be to have just the Goosebump books, like Tim Jacobus's Goosebump books, with the monsters just breaking out of the books. That would be an epic piece for the wall. Like, you could have all
or even VHS would be too.
So
or it also been really cool is like if around the time like during the Goosebumps movies, like they ever had like wall clings where it's like in the open manuscript and you have the monster like crawling out of it.
Yeah,
that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Who owns the original art from those books?
That was Tim Jacobus
like-
who did the original art.
Did he sell the paintings, or does he have them?
He sells prints of the art.
Yeah,
Okay.
he sells prints, but what he said was all the paintings he did, Scholastic has somewhere like locked up. So they own the
That sucks.
paintings, but he's able to. Yeah, so he's able to.
No, yeah,
sell
because
prints of them and stuff.
a lot of things when you do that, it's like they get first publication rights, but then you get the art back. So that's kind of sad that he doesn't have that art, because could buy him an island right now.
Yeah, that's why we say like a Goosebumps sequel movie idea would be like all the monsters, instead of coming out of the manuscripts, they all come out of their original illustrations, hidden, locked up somewhere in the Scholastic warehouse.
No, I like that. That's a good idea, because those paintings started it all. I remember them telling us that half the kids didn't even read the books. This is like before Harry Potter, and they just bought them for the covers. And it was prestige to have those covers. And there's something like kind of like taboo about them.
It's weird,
especially when you started young. Like,
I don't
for me, I
want to
started when I was
sound
5,
blasphemous saying this, but like if it really wasn't for those covers, chances are I don't think it really would have been as popular. It's like, you have the stories, and the stories are iconic, but if you don't have that like really good hook of that cover art, people won't read it. So Tim always said it was like a good 1-2 punch. He hooks you in with the cover, and then Stein gets you with the story. That's like the 1-2 punch of it all. So
I'm always telling him that.
So honest to
the
God,
great thing about that is like, even if the book sucks, the cover's still good. So like
Barking Ghost. Barking Ghost is a prime example. The terrible book, great cover. You know what I mean? Like the Barking Ghost is, in my opinion, one of the most iconic.
Sorry to all the Barking Ghost fans out there.
The dog, but the book is kind of.
I mean, I haven't read that book yet, but I've heard it's bad.
Well, I'm afraid of bees.
I mean, Chicken doesn't have that very good of a cover, though.
Why didn't we get a Gary the Bee toy? Why didn't we get a Gary the Bee action figure standee?
We should have got a chicken toy. Like, that's one thing we should have got.
I read The Haunted Mask, and I'm a big Stephen King fan, and I really liked it. I liked how it was itching underneath, just like all the little details in the story. Mm-hmm. I thought it was pretty good for kids literature.
Oh, I hate the idea of like
my favorite book,
something crawling under your skin.
Yeah.
Like, I think Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark did that, where it was like
the red spot.
The red spot was the gigantic pimple, and then all the spiders start crawling out.
That's great.
And even adapted that into the movie, which is really cool to see.
That was like, I saw that scene in the trailer, and I was like.
I know a thing or two about spiders.
Itchy.
So like, I was watching, maybe it was Goosebumps, and I could swear Ryan Gosling was in one. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Say cheese and die.
Say cheese and die.
Yeah, like I recognize that kid.
Yeah. Well, very recently, and I posted this on Instagram, but very recently he was doing an interview for Fall Guy, and he brought up that he made a joke how he still has the camera from that episode. He later said he didn't, but he just was talking about like how great it was to be on that. And it's so weird. It's like Ryan Gosling was on Goosebumps. That was like one of his first roles.
Same with Hayden Christensen. Like,
Anakin Skywalker was on Goosebumps in one of his first roles.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's strange. But when we talked to Ron Oliver, Ron was like, "Kid, like you're gonna be a big star one day. You just wait." And then there he went.
Crazy.
So, honest to God question, did anyone ever enjoy playing these things? I certainly
did. They're terrible.
They're horrible.
Mine were all packaged, so I couldn't. Mine were all packaging, so I couldn't honestly say I played it. I never had a
You're one of those kids. I think those are worth money now. I think those are highly collectible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like all of them, like certain licenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
The most
Mortal
expensive
Kombat.
one is the Slappy Intimidator. That one generally sells for the most, I've noticed. But there is also a little miniature pinball one as well that also sells. Those two are probably easily the most expensive. I'd say the pinball one actually is probably more expensive, the curly one. It's like a little miniature pinball game, and that one generally sells for quite a bit. But of all those electronics by that company, I am pretty sure, that Intimidator is always like 300 plus if it's in the packaging. That one I can see for like 180, 200 usually if it goes up.
And they're sheer garbage when they came out. I just remember those being in closeout at KB Toys. They're like they couldn't give them away for like $2.
Wow.
Rows and
It's
rows.
funny to think about what they're worth now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like we were talking to Tim Jacobus, and his autobiography came from New Jersey. He said that he couldn't get rid of those things. Like they were on Amazon for 25 cents. So what he did is bought them, signed them, and sent them out. But now the book's worth $200-$300 in some places.
Wow.
So it's crazy to think about like some of these things, even like whether it's the Desk Caddy or the Honda Mass Protractor. I mean, it took me a long time to find the Protractor, let alone in a box, like in the packaging. So it's really wild to think that like KB Toys and Toys R Us and all these places probably clearance all this stuff out for pennies on the dollar. It's just, you could buy a house now with it if you just sold it all.
Yeah.
Nick, if only you knew me back then, because I had a couple of those protractors in the packaging.
Oh wow!
If only you knew me before you bought it.
Here's the I found the Terror Topper.
Well, mine's not in the greatest of shape, but it's literally the only one I've ever seen online.
So there's the Terror Toppers. So you got the Mummy, Slappy, and the Horror.
That's cool. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I did the two on the right.
Yeah, and it's cool that the Mummy is like, it's not just the Mummy. It is like the little sarcophagus. Could it close though? It looked like it was.
Yes. I had another one. I think Slappy. He was originally like holding on to it, and you could take the pencil and go like that, and it looked like he was holding on and swinging around your pencil.
Oh, that's cool.
I guess there's issues. There's issues with that.
Wow.
Probably go flying into someone's face.
This is great hearing all this, because I always sit there and look at all my toys and I go, what was the concept to making that?
It was so much fun to make this. It was like with those two lines that are Real Monsters, I've never had like an opportunity like that to do something that cool. Because everything's so corporate now. You just can't. You don't have that much freedom.
Yeah.
So another line I worked on. This is after that I started inventing toys. And do you remember the whole Tamagotchi craze? And
Oh yeah.
So it was this thing called Giga Monsters. So it was like a totally late in the whole lifespan of those toys.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with the idea that if you with those things you're trying to raise an egg and nurture it and everything, but these you're trying to kill them. So and then these monsters are trying to they come at you all the time trying to kill you. So you have to like stab them with the stake and stuff. And they're a huge flop. And I remember I bought a whole bunch of KB when they came out, and now they're $500 a piece.
Whoa.
So that's definitely the most valuable.
Weird how that works.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
And they're a huge flop, but apparently just because of the monster theme, because they're licensed for Universal Monsters. But every now and then I try to do like a little horror-based thing.
I think I might have found the
which is great,
the glue
'cause,
stick.
stuff you've been making is like right up your alley. Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, there's a curly
That's
glue
awesome.
stick.
I have that in the packaging, that exact one.
Yep.
Oh, let's see that one.
So cool.
Yeah, so the curly glue stick, so it looks like you put the curly head on top of the glue stick.
Oh yeah.
I was just looking up. I just looked up Happiness Express Goosebumps, and there's a lot of There was a lot of binders that came up. It looks like
we had a whole department making those out.
Yeah, so we got
every graphic
guy.
Yeah, every graphic and package designer in the company was making those.
Mm-hmm. So you had like the horror and the mummy, and then
they had folders and binders and
these two.
Right,
the only thing I never saw was a Trapper Keeper, and that was unfortunate because that was the big thing back in the day for people too, was Trapper Keepers.
Yeah. Was there ever an idea for a Goosebumps calculator? Because I've seen some calculators for like all sorts of different products, like even like A Nightmare Before Christmas, like Harry Potter. Like they brought out just a calculator and it was just themed around whatever it was. Was there ever like an idea for, we're going to do a Goosebumps calculator?
I think we assumed that Goosebumps kids were so smart they didn't need a calculator.
I don't know. I don't think my brain will work so good.
If you were on our business meeting last night, you would know that's not true.
They did. I think what they do is they take they would, in that case, they would have found one, that was already made and just slap a sticker on it. They wouldn't get, with something techy like that, they wouldn't do a whole new casing.
Yeah,
but
that could have been the curly and soaring slappy one. It could have been like, could have been a calculator somehow. Like,
no, if they would have asked me to design it, it would have been crazy.
Now here we got bone-chilling bookmarks. Bone-chilling bookmarks.
That's
a cool idea.
Yeah.
Now those are cool because they're also kind of like doing.
There's nothing you can show me I don't have.
You can see like the body itself is 2D, but like the hands and the head are 3D.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. Like that's sort of like what we were talking about earlier, is like combining the two together.
Yeah, that's something I made up. That I still make stuff like that today.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, I mean, it's so unique. I mean, like if you're reading your Goosebumps book, that's like got to be the coolest bookmark to ever freaking use for it.
Well, no, also I didn't mention that I didn't know what the hell I was doing either. So I think that made it better, because I had never designed any toy line in my life. I kind of BS my way into the job. I was working in a sweatshop clothing factory, and but I could draw, and I could do stuff. And one of my friends was working at this toy company, and he said they're looking for they have an opening. They're looking for an artist. And I went there and I just BS my way into the job. And I got there and I really didn't know what I was doing. And like in 2 years, I was like running the boys department because I was I was crazy into toys. Nobody there liked toys as much as I did. So,
you gotta have a creative mind to make toys. Like you gotta really like think outside the box of like, how can we make this like the coolest thing ever? Like,
right.
You can't. No, I was a toy freak, but I just had never worked in the toy industry before.
Mm-hmm. I used to.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to show up.
Oh no, This is probably before all your times, but before YouTube and all this, every year Sears and JCPenney's and companies put out a Christmas catalog, and it would have a whole toy section in it. And I didn't have a lot of toys, so I would just read that thing over and over again. And I'd read all the features and all the things. And that's how I memorized what pretty much the feature of every toy in those catalogs. So I carried that information with me throughout my life, and I didn't even know I had it until I got the opportunity. And I'm like, I could take this and put it with this, and I got this product. So that's how.
That's so awesome. Like,
that's how Toy Better was born.
Like, because one thing we never actually really got, and we kind of have discussed this a few times, is we never really got like a full scale like action figure for Goosebumps in the 90s. Like, we've got a lot of other products that look kind of like toys, but we never really got like a full scale action figure of Curly or Slappy.
Kind of the closest thing was these collectibles, but they were stationary statues with a little button, and it would like light up and it would make a noise. But
is that a premium from like Burger King or something?
It isn't. It's they came in these little boxes that were like, they were called Goosebumps Collectibles, and they were they had the book cover, and you open it up and here it had the little statue. So this was a Slappy one, but they had like a ton. They had a whole first wave, which was easier to find, but then they had a second, which is way harder to find, and they had stuff like. They even got like weird ones. So of course you had Curly, the Mud Monster, Slappy, and all that. But then you had like the Executioner and the Masked Mutant and
cool.
We had Buddy from Jelly Jam.
Camp Jelly Jam. The dude with like
the Abominable Snowman.
Yeah, the Abominable Snowman. So it was like weird picks. But that's the thing, you had like Slappy and Curly and Cuddles were like so around, like they were the main ones, that when you had something that wasn't from one of those stories, it was almost weird. It was like Stay Out of the Basement or Cuckoo Clock of Doom or Night in Terror Tower. It's like when toys of those were coming out, it was like, wow. You don't see those a lot.
Also, like, the funny thing I think about too with the Series 1 collectibles, the Curly one, have you noticed that it's labeled as a Say Cheese and Die?
Yeah, it's incorrect.
Yes.
Was there a company, I can't remember if I imagined this or not, but wasn't there like, they had like Slappy and the Mummy, and they're like on a rod, and they're sound activated, and you went like that, and they danced?
Yeah. The motion creatures.
I didn't dream that.
Canada Games, I think, is the only one I can think of that made those, but they were the same company that made the Inksters, but they were called the Motion Creatures. And yeah, it was like you'd clap or snap your fingers, and then they would move around. And then they also made like little hand puppets. They called them Freaky Faces. So it was almost like the Boglins, like
right. I remember those.
They were like, so you would just kind of move them around, which were.
But those are pretty good figures that were on those rods, right? That like Mommy, like they're all jointed and stuff. Like they're almost action figures, but they're probably stuck to there.
Yeah, you would have to take them off the rod in order to.
They just have the rod up their butt so they can dance.
Yeah. Okay. I had one on my desk. I remember.
I love the way you put that.
Well, they did have those. I don't know if they were in the States though. The capsule the capsule ones. You open up as like a Mr. Mortman, Scarecrow.
Yeah, the
Scarecrow
monster bags.
Yeah,
monster bags.
I don't know if we got those in the States. I think that was Australia.
They were literally just called Goosebump monster bags. And essentially you would basically put them in water, and then there was like basically like green monster blood ooze, and you were given a little knife, and you would cut into the bag, and then the creatures would come out, and then you would just take out the pieces, and then you'd wash them off. But again, I never opened mine, but I've seen a very old YouTube video of someone doing it, and they like literally said, I wonder if this would still work if I put it in the water now and do it all, and it still worked after I think this was like maybe 12, 13 years after they'd come out when this video was up. But yeah, it's like a little mini knife you just cut in, and then the arm falls out, the head falls out, and then you put them together. And so they were almost like action figures as well, kind of. But we never got like what's something Movie Maniacs would have brought out. We didn't get like those full scale action figures like line. I feel like if they did
NECA release.
Did Super 7 do any?
Super 7?
No.
I don't think
so.
They
haven't done any. Okay, I figured they'd eventually get that.
I don't know why this image is making me giggle so much, but just just seeing it from that angle, I'm trying to get the
tasty
the light
table.
It's like you're just seeing Slappy chomping on your table.
You see why kids at school were probably like distracted from their schoolwork, all day. Oh man, I can just imagine because they look like little. If you had the little like stamps or the sharpeners of I think it was Cuddles and the Horrorland guy, they look like toys sitting on your desk.
Here's another one, the Gator stapler.
From Tape and Carnival Horrors.
Yeah, the box changed. The box art changed.
Yeah, but it is basically the book is right here. It is basically the gator on the front of this Carnival Horrors book.
Is that the only piece of merch for Carnival Horrors? I think it is.
I'm willing to bet so. I don't think those books were getting much merch.
It always made me think of Happy Gilmore, though.
Figure.
You know what I mean?
Got the mini figure.
Oh, yeah.
The gator that bit Chubb's hand off. Always made me think of Happy Gilmore.
Ooh, and then these Back-to-Ghoul. I love these names. Back-to-Ghoul sets.
Now those I have heap. I have 4 of them, and they have like all different mini note. But the only reason I bought so many is because they come with the little notebooks inside. So you had a Slappy one,
Creature
you had
Compass
Satan's
too,
and
yeah.
one, and you had the mummy. But you know what? One of the coolest products was the Goosebumps alarm clock with the mummy hands coming out of the ground.
Oh yeah,
Such an epic
cool
piece, man.
Here it is. So yeah,
that was so cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I always loved that.
and the bookends.
Yeah, you guys designed so many interesting and unique things. Like, it's so crazy to think that like you just had this free reign, and like you said, you didn't even you kind of BS'd your way to the job. So
Well, no,
I mean,
no, it
like,
was-
all
it
these
was-
iconic
it-
things.
But it was also like kind of spoiled us because you expect, since it was my first line that I worked on, I expected everything to be like that. After that, it wasn't. It was
Yeah.
like, I think after that we did like My Little Pony. It was like a nightmare.
That was the real scary stuff.
Yeah,
That-
yeah.
yeah.
It was the '80s My Little Pony.
Oh, that is.
Oh
So,
yeah, classic.
So when they
Classics.
came to you, like they said, did they just give you like a list of stationery stuff, and they just said make whatever, or was it like
make this.
actually like, okay, well we want
No.
a desk caddy, and you
No,
got to
they had
use.
no idea. They had no idea. We didn't even know what back to school stuff was. So I went to the Staples or something. And I just looked at like what was out there, like what kids used, and like a compass and stuff. So we just made it up. We showed them what what was out there.
That's
I was
funny.
Like
about to
the
be an
desk
asshole
caddy.
and make
I
a
didn't
joke
even-
about like, did they have
don't even-
Staples there?
Yeah, but I don't even know if a desk caddy is real. I don't even know. We just made that up. It's like, it's just an excuse to have a giant severed head on your desk.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, you don't get that opportunity too often to have that. So.
No.
I don't think I've seen another desk caddy like that either. Like I've obviously seen desk caddies, but
I
nothing
know.
like
There were
Flappy
more
on your
of
desk.
them.
Severed head.
Yeah, there were more of them, and I can't remember. I'd have to like sit down and like really think about it. But I know I did at least 3 of each thing. So I did 3 desk caddies, and that was the one that got made.
Makes
But
sense.
the other
because
one-
now-
The other one was
Yeah.
probably
Like I would love
Yeah, it
the
was
haunted
probably-
mask one. I think that would have been a really cool one.
yeah. It was
that would
probably
be cool.
No, Curly was the most fun to draw, so it was probably him.
He was a cool.
And
I could see Curly being that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Slappy's head
See,
is
that would be
just
so-
amazing to just have in your hand, and then just hook them to your table again. Just hook them to your table.
I think it works because of the ventriloquist dummy aspect, the whole up and
And
down
the
mouth.
bow
thing.
tie
I think
is
it
the
just
little
works
screw.
for a caddy. It's
Oh yeah.
it's just so on the nose. Like this one works very well because of what it is, I guess. And
Yeah, There was a horror film that Anthony Hopkins was actually in the 70s called Magic, and it was about it. Yeah, and it was about it, and Slappy reminded me of that, and that used to scare the crap out of me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's a very creepy movie. It's like
oh yeah,
70s horror was on a
All in
different
his head,
level.
man.
It was like
it
eerie.
was all in his head.
Yeah.
yeah. The music was really sinister. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that
Dummy
movie.
hands up
That
in
movie
the
actually made my dad
That's
scared of
weird.
ventriloquist dummies.
What's that
Yeah,
based off? What
you
Goosebumps?
guys-
Is that the
Yeah, I was
plug
gonna say,
idea?
like, what is the what's the ruler based on? From, do you remember?
A monster.
That just made up. Like that was one of the few ones that they just let us, kind of like that other one I showed you with that old guy. I think my friend Larry. Brian. This guy Brian McGee designed that one, and I don't know why they let that pass, but it wasn't actually a Goosebumps character.
Yeah, I always wondered about that one too. Like when I had it as a kid, I was like, "What? book is this from? I'm looking at an alien other than like zapped in space.
Old
it was the
from outer
secret,
space.
secret unwritten book that you'll never read.
Yep, those were the
There's a
lost
couple of
Goosebumps
those, so you
books.
never know.
No, it's like
Yeah.
you guys have ruined it because now I'm gonna buy a Goosebumps Slappy desk caddy.
Oh, really? Is there one on there?
Yeah, it's loose. No package. It's $80.
Oh,
Then there's
yeah.
one missing a bow tie. Maybe I'll get that one.
You gotta get the bow tie. You gotta get the bow tie.
Yeah, I just make a bow tie.
I love that the
I love
bow
even
tie
just the-
was like the way that you would.
I love even
screw
just the images on the back of the box. Like, I love everything. And I love how you've got the pencil toppers, like, in the actual, like,
Yeah.
in the box.
Oh, yeah.
Package.
Yeah.
If you're advertising the other products on there, like, I think it's just so cool. And it,
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, and that toy company, Happiness Express, it was like way too many people crammed into 2 rooms. The whole company was 2 rooms, and in New York, and I used to call it asses and elbows because we were so crowded.
Yep.
I had an inker next to me and someone drawing next to me. We were all like in this like big cubicle. It was a really strange
Happy
place.
Ass Express.
Happy Ass Express.
Happy Ass and Elbows Express.
Oh, man. Was there any other monsters that you can remember that were sort of thrown into the mix? Like, oh, we could make something on this, but then just decided, nah, like maybe not. We'll move on.
I mean, I would have to go through the book covers and kind of look them over and try, and it would trigger some memories. But I just remember just looking at them and saying, what would make a cool toy?
Mm-hmm.
Or what would this character do?
I'm honestly
It's always
surprised
the Tim, man.
there
Those Tim
wasn't
Jacobus
more
artworks.
Monster Blood. Like, usually whenever Monster Blood was involved, it was Cuddles because it was the hamster. But like, just the idea of having toys that dealt with like the slime in general, just sort of like slimy, goopy sort of things. I mean, that was every time I think about Goosebumps, you got to have like the really gross, slimy sort of aspect to it.
Yeah.
But that's why I really like that pencil holder of Cuddles, because he's got like all the monster blood like just dripping out of his mouth all over everything. And then he's holding I don't know if you guys noticed, but he's got like a little box of crayons in front of him, and he's holding like crayons in his hands. So it's almost
that one
wasn't
that wasn't produced.
I wish it was.
I
wish it
Okay.
was.
I don't remember
Where's the
seeing it.
prototype? Where's the
Yeah,
prototype?
okay.
It's got to be out there, right?
No. Yeah, that I remember seeing the drawing for that. I'm like, yeah, that Larry knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, so that was the one. But yeah, he's got like a little box
Would
of
that
crayons in
prototype
front
still
of him.
exist? Is the question. Would that still exist out there?
No, everything that company like filed Chapter 11. It was like a nightmare. I actually bailed out of the company before they went under. But
Really?
Oh,
yeah,
really?
they had like a meteoric rise, and then 2 of the people embezzled everything from the company, and they went to jail.
Oh,
So-
dang.
Yeah.
You got out. Good time.
So-
And
That
And he
that
made some
sucks.
awesome
Honestly,
Goosebumps
like
stuff.
all the stuff
And
we're
every-
talking about, is amazing stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a shame that a company that actually made good products and gave creative freedom to the people to make those products too.
Well, at the end of the day, you give that credit to the people who make those products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But they have to work for that company to do it usually.
Right. I
Not there.
never would have had that opportunity. I probably would have never been introduced to Goosebumps if it hadn't been through that.
Well, it's weird where places take you sometimes, and
Yeah.
But now, I mean, like, that was back in the 90s, making all those products. But I mean, now, like, and you've even alluded to this, just the discovery of like how much of a fan base Goosebumps has now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it must be pretty weird, like all these years later, how it makes a resurgence, and then you know, all of a sudden all this stuff
think it'll
becomes
be
popular again.
Yeah, it's funny because I think it's all about managing the brand, and if you can manage a brand, like it went so high and then crashed so low because it wasn't managed correctly. But now, like, say the Turtles, right? And like Nickelodeon bought the Turtles from the creators, and they they totally manage it well. They have, this much product and that, and they reinvent it every like 3 or 4 years, and it keeps it going. And they kind of should have done that to Goosebumps. And I know they have done it, but now the film's out, and if they keep managing it correctly or whatever, it'll do well.
Mm-hmm.
It'll stick around.
Well, that's the thing.
There won't be any dark days.
We've talked before. We kind of thought that, like, or at least I did for sure back in the 90s, like once Harry Potter came out and Goosebumps took that dive, and I thought it was dead, like dead. But there was a lot of legal stuff going on too around that time with Stein and Scholastic and Parachute Press and all that stuff, I guess, with his contract and everything. So I thought for sure it was dead. You didn't really see much of anything come out at the time, at least here in the States. I know Bjorn said that like it died there, but it had a later response because there were other companies in other countries still producing Goosebumps stuff. Cool. But not here, unfortunately. But it's like we literally really good to see that it's still alive.
Yeah, it's still alive. Like we literally had Goosebumps clothing, like that I have found, like Australian made shirt. It's like, and they still say Parachute Press, and they say 1999 on it, and I'm like, 99, like that's weird. But like Australia, even when I was at school in like 2001, 2002, like Goosebumps was still popular, like the books, and kids still had the toys from like their older siblings. Like I remember kids still walked around school with like a backpack or a hat or something, in primary school. So it was still, I think it might have had longer legs in Australia and in Europe, definitely in Europe, because there is Goosebumps products that have the year 2000 on it. And you're like, what? 2000? Like, because they even had because they used to bring out the calendar every year, 95, 96, 97, 98, but they continued the calendars over in, I think it was in Piccolo, so in Italy, they continued the calendars to 99 and 2000, 2001. And they've got like Series 2000 artworks for like the months on it and stuff. And I think, man, like some countries just kept it going for as long as they could, I guess, like the popularity just, but it sounds like the US, it died.
It kind of just
quicker
died.
than anywhere else.
When it died.
It was like overnight.
Yeah,
it was like overnight.
What is it? What's the Holy Grail item that nobody has that was produced?
I think it's the. I've had an offer of $2,000 on one item, and it's because I've seen only one other one loose, but I have it in the packaging, and it's the Goosebumps Cuckoo Clock of Doom wall clock. And I've had higher offers on that than I've seen on like a Series 2000 fan club pack that's sold, which I always thought was the Grail. But this item was only produced in Australia, and it was a company called Crystal Craft, and even they didn't produce a lot of things that they made. And that item, I've never seen another one in the box in the 5 years that I have been collecting. So I'm going to say that it may not be in the number one item, but it's definitely in the top 3.
That's really cool. So are you making a book of all Goosebumps collectibles, or is there a resource of all your collection?
My Instagram.
He's done videos where he just. I remember there was one, and this was years ago, but there was one where you just took the camera, no dialogue, just went through every single thing. It was like an hour long because it was going through every shelf, every product, so much. But that was like 6 years ago. He's probably like doubled all that now.
What's your Instagram?
Goosebumps Aussie Fan, and the YouTube is Goosebumps Aussie Fan. So I'll
well, slow down. You're getting me way too confused with these names.
It's like But yeah, I'd say that's up there. I'd say another item that's like a holy grail. Like if we're talking like actual licensed products that were released, I mean, you've got items like original like store displays, like Nick and we know like these they fetch a lot of money. But if we're talking licensed products, like I got to say it's probably that clock. The Series 2000 fan club pack, I would say have to be in the top 3, top 5 rarest items. Series 2 collectibles just are in there, all of them.
Yeah, every Series 2 collectible is expensive.
Is there, and the scare packs.
I actually ended up finding the pencil sharpener, the electronic one.
Yeah.
So it looks
Yeah.
like
Barking Ghosts.
Yeah,
The barking
those
ghost.
were taken from an existing one, and they just put new skins on it. But there was a gorilla that ate your pencils, and they found that they sourced it in Hong Kong.
Well, I actually didn't know about the curly one. I knew about the barking ghost one with the dog, but the curly one, I'm actually just finding out was a thing that exists. That's cool. I love the packaging on those products too. Like, especially like you can see there with the desk caddy and the tape dispenser. I just love the pattern of like blue and purple contrasting with the green logo.
It's kind of like the VHS pattern. It's kind of like that pattern in the old VHS tapes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's just like so pleasing to the eye. It's like you look at that and you're like, oh, that's a Goosebumps product. Like, that's always important too.
I remember the first time I saw the battery operated sharpener was actually a teacher had it at school, like on her desk, and kids used to just want to sharpen their pencil even if their pencil wasn't sharp.
They break them on purpose.
Yeah, this was 2002 because I remember it was my grade 2 teacher and she had it and it was the curly one, and I remember I always used to ask her if I could have it, and she was like, no, this was my son's, and it's something that, because he's not at school anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. So she basically was like, no, it wouldn't let me have it.
And then he performed a heist.
Well,
yes. Do you think that's what drove you insane? That's what drove you insane and made you collect all that stuff just because of that one incident?
I feel like, that definitely played a factor.
Pushed him over the edge.
There's a lot of, like, I don't know, like, as a kid, I saw a lot of Goosebumps stuff, that people owned, like, from their childhood. I had things passed down from my older cousin. And I think that, like, just all those stories and memories, of these items just, and I mean, I love Goosebumps anyway, but, I just used to look at them and think, how cool are they? Like, how cool does that look? How nostalgic.
Oh, yeah.
And I just had to have everything with Goosebumps.
And that was the start of his villain arc.
It's not going to change. I'll take it to my grave, man. Like, 100%.
I will have it all, and no one else will get any.
It's gonna be. I'll be buried with it all.
That's gonna be a giant hole.
It's gonna be a big plot for everything.
They're gonna have to custom order a casket for you.
I know. Well, you know how they say, like, when you die, you can't take everything with you?
It's just an open casket funeral. You're just laying there with your slappy dummy all your slappy dummies next to you, just for the whole. All your family.
I want to have them like around my arms, and they're just like, yeah, they're my bros, like chilling there. Like they say, you can't take everything, can't take things with you. I am going to change that.
It reminds me of the Toy Story comic.
You're not physically have them with you in the afterlife, but you'll have them in your grave.
It reminds me of the Toy Story comic where, like, Andy is, like, on his deathbed and he's like, I'll never leave you guys, and then it shows them, like, Woody and Buzz buried with him and they're all freaked out.
Oh yeah, they're like, because they're like trapped on the ground, can't do anything. I remember that. Oh man,
that's funny.
That's gonna be you with your Goosebumps stuff.
It's love, it's life.
Yeah.
You're gonna find some way to end up possessing your slappy dummy.
You're gonna take control of it. You're gonna reincarnate Slappy.
He's going with me, man. He's going with me.
I guess one last question. If you had the chance to, like, make any Goosebumps products now, like, would you go back to, like, those old designs, or would you, like, maybe take a stab at doing some new ones?
No, I definitely do new ones because I've done, I've been a toy inventor for a lot longer now, and I know a lot more tricks.
Yeah.
That was my bag of tricks for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's what would you say?
I would do
it doesn't have to be
animatronic.
Animatronic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, we do. We do a lot of animatronic toys and stuff. It'd be great to do like just a freaky, alive Slappy, like crawling across the floor or something. Something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like something
that'd
like
be great.
What you'd find in, like, a Spirit Halloween or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh man, that'd be
That would
so
be really cool. what might be really cool actually is like an interactive Slappy, like some of those interactive toys where you speak to it and he like responds back to like a pre-recorded messaging.
That'd be really cool.
Now's the time too, though. Like with the whole new Disney shows coming out, and there's a season 2 coming out. I feel like now's the time to bring out some Goosebumps stuff again, like this.
Richard Studios is doing it.
Well, that's the thing. There's many companies now that are making, even if they're not officially. Well, I mean, most of them are officially licensed. It's a legal thing. But Goosebumps toys are sort of making a bit of a comeback. Now there's like action figures and merchandise, collectibles coming out now. So I mean, the time, if there ever was a time to go back to the wheel well, might be now.
Yeah. It's like if anybody can make money from something, it's going to happen. And Goosebumps. I think there's still money in Goosebumps, so I'm sure we'll see a lot more stuff.
Absolutely.
Oh, there's definitely money in Goosebumps.
I can't believe some of the nostalgia stuff I see in like Target.
It's crazy, like what comes back. Like there's always like new Ninja Turtle stuff and like horror movie action figures, and then of course you got like.
I mean, there's those rumors going on that we're getting Goosebumps Funko Pops later this year.
I was actually just about to bring up Funko Pops. Is like now you got those, but yeah, there are going to be Goosebumps ones, so it makes a comeback.
Yeah. One thing I want to quickly actually ask, really quickly, because you said you did like Unreal Monsters. Did you ever get the opportunity to? Because I'm a huge, and Isaiah is too, a huge SpongeBob fan. Love SpongeBob, like especially the old Green Label era of SpongeBob. Did you ever like design or or have like an opportunity to do anything within the SpongeBob like world, like for this stuff?
We worked on a lot of stuff for SpongeBob, but nothing ever made it to shelves because there are so many companies making it. We did like dancing SpongeBobs, and we did, I'm trying to think. Yeah, wait, you know what? I'll have to get back to you on that because I think one thing did make it to the shelves, and it was from a Chinese toy company.
Yeah,
that'll be the item I buy.
SpongeBob toys were always fun. I remember I came across like it was a shower radio for SpongeBob. It's like a radio that you put in the shower, and it was like SpongeBob in his bathtub. But you could actually listen to the radio. Like you could, I don't know how they did it without water and electricity, but must have been battery powered.
That was an original item. That was a Green Label SpongeBob item.
That was like the 90s, 2000s.
Great sculpture. Yeah, because back then, like some of the sculpts on some of the old SpongeBob toys just looked great. Like the actual molds and stuff look really good.
Well, again, it just goes back to.
Was there one from Mattel where you went like this and he went?
The babbling sponge.
Yeah,
babbling sponge.
That was one of my favorites, and that was like
he literally says that tickles.
Yeah.
Well, I got a little one up here that's like he's like a little bouncing SpongeBob. So he's on like a little thing and you push the button, and I think the batteries are dead. But he basically you push it and he'll say something, and he moves like up and down.
Oh yeah, he's such a great character.
It's like it's such a recognizable. Again, it goes back to that familiar IP. Yeah. Once you have an IP that
I remember seeing that, and it was called, I don't know, it was a children's programming magazine, and SpongeBob hadn't come out yet, and all I saw was a photo of that, and I'm like, that's going to be a hit. Because it kind of had like the Ren and Stimpy kind of irreverence, but it was cute, and
no, it definitely was
right.
I was pretty much addicted to it for the first couple of seasons.
Yeah.
That was when it was golden, kind of like the Simpsons era. SpongeBob had the golden era, which was seasons 1 to 3, and people also regard the first movie as very iconic as well.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, the sculptures look great on those toys, those old ones. They just look so good. They look like ripped out of the show, man.
Yeah.
I love those.
Nah, it's criminal that you can make designs for toys and then they just don't get picked up, and they could be like some of the coolest things ever, and then they just get left on the shelf.
No, like the type of work we do now is a toy company will come to us and say, "Hey, we need a $60 SpongeBob, and it can only have one motor, but it has to do something amazing." And then we just sit around and brainstorm it, and can we do this? Can we do this? Can you do a cartwheel? Do whatever, and that's how. And then they do it, and then it goes down the line, and and they can't sell it to Walmart, and then it gets dropped. Or it gets made,
Yeah.
Either or, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Anywho, that's gonna...
Wait, one more thing. I got to plug one more shameless plug.
Oh.
I have a new game that I worked on with our company, and it's called Pickleball Blast.
Oh.
So it's a pickleball game, and the pickle is a character. It sort of looks like SpongeBob.
The pickle.
And you play pickleball. It's tabletop pickleball.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty.
That actually sounds great.
That's the only thing about pickleball is like it's pickles and balls. It's
pickles and balls.
No, it's
that sounds great.
Moose. The company Moose from Australia makes it. So.
So I'll probably see it on the shelf here, like before anywhere else.
So it's called Pickleball Blast.
Yeah, it just hit the shelves, and it has a big pickle on it.
Awesome.
It's hit the shelves already?
So,
so like Kmart, we got like Mr. Toys. I'll find it.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
I'll find a link to it, and I'll put it in the description below for our audience to take a look at. But no, that's really cool. That's awesome.
Cool,
and that's going to do it for today's episode of the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. Steve, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking about toys and Goosebumps with us.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. It was a great time. Nice meeting you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nice meeting you too.
Is there any other place that our audience can find you, social media or website?
Steve Casino, at Steve Casino on Instagram, stevecasino.com. Just type in Steve Casino, you'll find me.
And I'll
just
go
like a gambling.
I'll go ahead and leave a link to those profiles in the description as well. Go follow Steve. He's awesome. He posts pictures of toys and designs all the time. Really cool stuff. Absolutely. And thank you again for joining us and talking Goosebumps.
Oh, you're welcome.
As always, make sure you follow the rest of the Goosebumps crew on our YouTube, social medias, and Instagrams, Twitters, and all that. Goosebumps Aussie Fan, Shawan, and the Ultimate Goosebumps Man, as well as here at the Goosebumps channel and the Goosebumps Crew Podcast YouTube channel. Also, make sure you follow our audio platforms. All those links are in the description below. And until next time, this has been the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. And from all of us here at the Goosebumps Crew Podcast, I want to wish you all to take care, stay safe, and have a very scary day.